All right, hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on visual AI for regulatory and compliance. We're going to be covering how to reduce time-consuming and expensive workflows using Applitools. But before we get started, I wanted to make some introductions and set some boundaries for the webinar. One thing is I'm sure there are going to be a lot of questions as we go along, so please type your questions into the chat pod on the right side of your screen, and we'll address those towards the end of the session. So, hi, my name is Dan Levy. I'm the Senior Director of Product Marketing here at Applitools. Also joined by Eran Barlev, our Senior Solutions Engineer at Applitools, who helps our customers on a daily basis, as well as Janet Chaffin, who is our VP of Strategic Accounts at Applitools, and she's been working a lot with our customers using Applitools for regulatory and compliance. She's almost like a panel member today, so she may chime in here and there on some of these slides, but she's not an actual presenter. But if you hear another voice, that would be Janet. So, getting started, regulatory and compliance workflows are time-consuming and expensive, right? And this is a result of tedious, paper-based, and labor-intensive workflows. Results in lost time and money, delayed deliveries, and very difficult to maintain and update digital assets such as websites, PDFs, and things like handing off to various agencies like the FDA, et cetera. Just a very painful overall process. And I'd imagine if you're on this webinar today, these are pains that are really resonating with you, and you're looking for solutions that can help ease some of those pains. And here at Applitools, we understand this pain. We've been trusted by hundreds of organizations for streamlined, automated workflows that deliver true ROI to organizations bound by regulatory restrictions. And we have a diverse and amazing set of customers, so you'll be an excellent company. Many of the world's largest companies are already using Applitools. After launching in 2015, and since then, we've grown rapidly and now support over 350 companies, both large and small, highly technical, less technical, and often heavily regulated, as you see here on the screen. So speaking a little bit about some of the benefits, so Applitools modernizes your digital asset compliance workflow, which will in turn save you time and money. So on the time and money front, being able to auto-scan websites, documents, and mobile apps for changes. So this could be hook-ins to content management systems. This could be monitoring various folders or directory structures, and when there are new documents added, to automatically scan those. Detecting all changes, including missing artifacts. So this is a big one. One thing is when you're looking at a document for changes or for defects or for something that's wrong, it's so easy to overlook something that's actually missing, because if it's not there, there's nothing to look at. So you actually have to know that it should be there. And this is where a lot of problems can occur. Humans will miss these types of missing artifacts, and artificial intelligence, computer vision, will not. So this software and technology is incredibly accurate in the detection of changes, and it covers all screens. This leads to a peace of mind. So compliance is a breeze, right? Well, that's a bold statement, but we can ease some of that pain around compliance, right? And from the legal perspective, I know that a lot of heavily regulated industries also have legal departments that really need to keep a complete history of digital assets, and this is something that Applitools does. And marketing, on the marketing side, there's so much money that goes into ensuring that a brand is properly represented, but how can that be enforced? And that's something that can be also done through Applitools. Setup is super fast and easy. You can schedule for routine asset scans. You can integrate seamlessly into existing automation workflows. And we have virtual advisors that will help guide your team through Lightning integration sessions, best practices, trainings, and routine check-ins, all at no additional cost to you. So let's talk a little bit about regulatory and compliance. We've got a few scenarios before Applitools and how we helped, and then after Applitools. So up at the top, constantly check digital assets for black box warnings and other visual elements required by regulatory agencies, right? And how can we help? We can accelerate the validation of digital assets. In one example, we went from 18 days of manual labor down to 3 hours of automation. And the net result of that is flawless global content distribution and massive time and money saved. I mean, 18 days down to 3 hours of automation is an incredible savings. Regional agencies each have their own labeling requirements. And so this amplifies the already extensive manual efforts across every single region that you may need to cover. And we can create baselines for each region and have each checked in parallel using visual AI. And that results in a faster release process for every content update. And failure to comply means delays, fines, and even shutdown. We validated content management system upgrade across 26 countries. This is for one customer, 26 countries, 1,200 websites, and 80,000 pages. And we were able to take screenshots of all interfaces over time to prove compliance and send it in a structured manner to internal and external regulatory departments. So next
Dan,
is, oh yeah, please let me go back.
yeah, so I'll jump in here. So some of these customer examples, I've worked closely with these customers, and I'll just kind of expand on these stories here. I had one customer in the area of validating their website. Really, there's two different approaches various customers have used when they've come to us. Some already have some form of automation to be able to try to check their websites, for example, and others have nothing and they've been doing it all manually. The ones who have automated it basically can check the functionality and the clicks work and things like that, but they've been unable to do things like check to make sure the black box isn't hidden under a picture that was introduced in their content and things along those lines. And so these customers always have some level of manual intervention to check the digital assets. And oftentimes they're completely manually checking. I had one customer who prints PDFs of their website and distributes the paper copies to legal and marketing for approval before making any changes. This was causing them to actually delay their product launches because they had new drugs coming in the market and they couldn't actually put them up on the website because they weren't yet approved for that. The content finally needs to go to the FDA once it's approved internally. And through this long manual process, they ended up with cases where they had distributors of their new drugs who had their drugs up on the website before they could. And so being able to use the power of the AI to be able to look at the screen the same way a human would for these customers has been amazing in terms of their ability to quickly take it through that approval process.
Thanks, Jenna. It's wild to hear the stories, that real world stories of how bogged down people can get and companies can get in process where distributors are able to move faster than them and have things on their website before they can. It's pretty wild. Thanks for sharing that.
Sure.
Okay, next up, the historical records for legal reference is another use case that we see quite often within regulatory and compliance and other industries as well. And before Applitools, oftentimes manual screenshots or even printouts are captured by humans, and this goes across every local region. And these printouts are then need to be stored somewhere, and you have to wonder about the shelf life of these printouts as well. with Applitools, we automatically capture screenshots each time the assets are updated, providing peace of mind and confidence that full history, including regional variations, are instantly accessible. Uh, the process is naturally time consuming and difficult to capture and store in an organized manner. And with Applitools, it's fast and can be scheduled and results in an overall faster release process. You can just update your website, you can update your PDFs much faster, knowing that there's a workflow that will trigger that will automatically capture those. And naturally, as I was just alluding to, it's very difficult to search for printed records and records when they're stored in an unorganized manner. And as I mentioned, limited shelf life if you print those out. With Applitools, it's easily searchable by date or other attributes that you can set. And it's a really fast and accurate assessment of exposure is what the legal team is after. If a lawsuit happens to come up 3 years down the road because someone went to a website and claims that they didn't see a particular warning about a drug and took that drug or something like that, there's exposure, and to be able to go back and say, well, actually on our website on that date we did have a black box warning there, and to take it even further, what if the customer was on a mobile device and this is like a responsive web app? That a responsive web app means it renders different on a desktop device than it does on a mobile device. Did the black box warning appear on the mobile device? And with our ultrafast grid product, you're actually able to capture screens as rendered on different browsers, devices, and screen sizes. And Applitools captures those images on all your assets, including browsers, devices, and screen sizes. Sorry about my cat. We are all working from home in this situation, so if you hear a cat meowing, my apologies. Okay. So next slide here is talking about the platform itself. Applitools Visual AI helps reduce time-consuming and expensive workflows through Visual AI, which is the industry's only AI-powered computer vision that replicates the human eye and brain. We're able to scan web, mobile, desktop, PDF. We actually can scan other assets as well. We have SDKs, and if you can take a screenshot of it, we can analyze it. So we can scan all those digital assets quickly and send it to eyes for that visual AI analysis. And the goal here is to create fast and maintain less. So run or schedule with our easy scanner, or create custom runs via automated testing frameworks. A lot of our customers utilize us that way, and they do that through our SDKs and integrations with most of the popular test frameworks that are out there. We can render and capture across all screens, so our ultrafast grid product ensures visual perfection across all browsers, screens, and resolutions, and overall better coverage. So much more than just screen capture. You'll be instantly alerted to meaningful website changes, including missing items. So any modification or change to your website will trigger an alert. So with that, I'd like to hand it over to Iran for a demonstration of the product.
Thanks, Dan. And thank you everyone for joining me today. We'll take a look now at a couple of examples that are based on a website that we've created that emulates how a pharma website normally looks like. It's not real, but all the examples are based on our customers' experiences. So let's start off and see basically how Applitools works behind the scenes. We have an engine, an AI engine that crawls through your screenshots of your websites, of your documents, anything with a visual interface to it, and compares it to its expected result. And here we can see an example of the homepage of our company, and everything that we see highlighted in pink is where the AI engine found a mismatch between the baseline on the left, which is the expected result, and the checkpoint on the right, which is the current test we ran. And this is something we would expect to find because we are using an algorithm called strict, and that's one of our AI algorithms that emulates the human eye. So it can detect anything from a mismatch image, a typo, or even a missing component on your page. Now, let's also look at a different AI algorithm we have. It's called layout. Layout reverse engineers the page in terms of structure and how it's designed, and then decides whether the layouts are identical. So this algorithm is focused on structure of the page. So here we can see that we are ignoring the fact that the story order on this page are different. We can see that here we have top medical equipment, and on the top right we have HIPAA compliant. So even though the content is different, this algorithm oversees the structure of the page. So we will not catch typos, but if you have missing elements here or extra elements, we will definitely highlight that. Now, take that and multiply that by the number of browsers and devices you want to test your website on. And here we are showing that we can actually test it across different resolutions and different browsers. And it takes just a couple of seconds. Look at that, it took about, 13 seconds to run about 10 tests on your homepage to make sure that everything looks great as expected across multiple browsers and devices. And all of this is with the click of a button. You can set up your tests once and they can run for you automatically and protect you for every content or even structure update that's happening on your website. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we can catch something as small as a typo. And here we can see another update that someone pushed into our website, and the crawler crawled through all our pages, and we found a typo. And this, you can see all our tests are now orange because they're mismatched because we found some issues. So let's look at this one, and let's use the radar because this image is very colorful, so it's easy to miss something that's highlighted in pink here. And the radar is pointing out to two elements on the page. So let's navigate to the first one. And here we see that someone replaced H with M. And that's very annoying here. And here we have another one, someone replaced more with Mora. And these are easily missed when these kind of tests are done manually, day in, day out by our QA department, because staring at that page over and over again for every update, that's very tiresome. And people start missing out on those bugs, and these bugs end up leaking into our production servers. And our customers then are exposed to those issues. Now, another feature that we have that Dan mentioned earlier is the ability to have like an archiving service for our website. For every page, we have the ability to look at its history. So let's pick a page here, for example, this one, and we know that it has changed through time. So we can always go and look at our baseline history. And we can see here that we have multiple versions of that page. We have the date, so we can always go back to a certain date in time and see the page, how it looked on that specific date. Or we can select by the user who actually approved that website, that web page. That's visible here through our Save By column. We can
So
always,
Iran, quick question. Sorry to jump in. I
yeah,
just have a quick
no, go
question.
ahead.
Is there any limit to the history that can be saved? Like, can this have 10 years of data in it theoretically?
Good question. Yeah, we can keep it forever for you. This is stored. These are your screenshots. You own them, and they can be kept forever. It's not a special It's not a special request from a pharmaceutical company that we get very frequently.
Great.
We can always, and if anyone else has any questions, just feel free to write them in the chat, and Daniel can just throw them at me as we go along. So here we can see the ability to compare two different versions. So I can say I want to compare this version with that version, and then see what has changed between two different, let's say, product releases, and make sure that in this example, they look identical. Obviously, demo trolls, but we could actually find the mismatches between the two different page releases. Now, we were talking about websites, but obviously we can handle any source of screenshot that we can get from you, whether it's your native mobile app. We have a way to integrate with that and compare those screenshots, or even a simple PDF. So here's a PDF that I literally uploaded to Applitools with a single command, and we harvest all the pages on that. We crawl all the pages on that PDF, and when we find a mismatch, we highlight it for you, same as we just showed you on the website. So let me first filter out, because I want to only look at the unresolved steps, and let's see what we actually caught here. So here's the first example. Let's use the radar to navigate to the first typo. So here we see someone drop the S. So that's a very critical issue here. Let's look at the next one. Here, someone removed the bullet point. So as I mentioned, the AI engine can be super sensitive into finding the smallest things in your screenshot, I would say. And identify them automatically for you. You can be notified of these changes via email, via Slack, for example, or any channel that you choose to. So this is very good for product owners, for marketing teams. Whenever they constantly push content through, for example, AEM or any other platform, they can be alerted instantly of any update that is not expected. Because what's expected, if you made a content change and you get this alert, you can just go ahead and approve that's something that they just pushed into production. But you'll also be covered on other areas where you missed an update. And let's look at an example like that of something that we missed by pushing an update to our website. So here is, for example, a product page that we need to put our black box label on it. And on the right, we see some update change that someone pushed. And here we see that the image is cropped. The black box label is cropped. Now, what happened was, behind the scenes, someone on our CMS tool, on AEM, for example, just tweaked how the image looked like, or they uploaded a new version of that image with higher resolution, without knowing that this image is used across 10 different pages of our application. And in this specific page, what happened is it cropped something very critical for us. So by making these updates and pushing them to production and checking only one page that you're concerned about, you actually could have affected 10 other pages. Now, probably many of you already have functional tests in place, and that's fine. These functional tests will not catch these kind of bugs, because a functional test would basically ask if these two images are on the page. And the answer is going to be yes, they are here. But there's no way to ask if one image is basically overlapping another image, especially not multiply that by the number of images and components you have on your website. So, like I said, a functional test would definitely pass, and you'll end up with this product page in production, and no one wants that.
So basically what you're saying here is even if you have a QA team that has a series of automated tests that are running against your site, it's just not enough to prevent from mishaps like this. And in this situation, it's extremely critical when a black box warning gets covered by an image, and also seems to be some of the challenges that our customers have faced.
Correct. We see a lot of companies that are spending a lot of resources, time and money on functionally testing their websites, and then they leave the visual testing aspect of it to be an extra manual step at the end. But when you have thousands of pages on your website, and each of them is very critical for your brand, it's impossible to cover that. And then you end up with very, very slow release cycles. And when you want to be competitive in today's market and you want to push updates to your website faster to put your products in the market, you need to do that with confidence and not worry about if you're going to get a call from someone complaining about some page that's not appearing correctly. And this is where Applitools can help you cover that huge gap that everyone has by adding that AI engine capabilities to your test framework. It can be either to your existing test framework, and if you don't have any, we can help you with that as well with our codeless tools, and basically make sure that you are pushing updates and not having any bugs leaked into production. Now, I was talking about codeless tools. We have quite a wide variety of tools that allows to non-technical teams use the power of our AI engine as well. So you don't have to write to no code, or you don't have to have a full-blown QA team with automation framework set up. We can handle any use case. So now I think, Dan, is a good time to open the floor for questions. Do you have anything in the chat?
Okay, great. Yeah, we absolutely do. I've got a wrap-up Q&A slide that I want to present as well. So
sure.
Let me move over to that slide, and we'll go back and share my screen here. All right. So we've got some questions. So here's a question. It seems like it would take a lot of work from a legal perspective. To get everything scanned in. I don't know, maybe Janet or Iran, one of you want to take the field this one?
Actually, let me jump in on that one because I had a couple of customers with this very real life experience, and it's a great question. And I'll tell you, the way that this use case even came about was through the creativity of our customers and the fact that they were actually capturing the websites anyway to do the validation ahead of publication. And they said, oh, hey, we've got this record of all the website states as it was developed and then as it was released in production. And we're generating that anyway, at least for the most part, to validate ahead of publication. And so first question was, how long do you save these baselines? And the answer is forever. And so we never delete those. They stay on the site forever. They don't get archived. They're always there for you. But then they said, oh, well, can we just keep this and then have that now be our legal repository? We've been printing these things out separately and putting them in files in an archive. And we said, sure. And so now all they had to do was just add a few more scans to be able to grab the complete set of pages for the record, but not just the ones they had updated. But it was sort of almost icing on the cake the way it first came about. And then they were able to just slightly supplement it and really achieve a huge savings as a result.
Wow, that's great. Thanks, Janet. I've got a bunch of questions here. The next one is around PDF documents. Is there a quick way to scan them or check them?
Absolutely. It's a simple command, as I mentioned earlier. You can drop a PDF or even a folder full of those PDFs, and we will just crawl through all these PDFs and all the pages in all of them and bundle them all together into one test results in your dashboard. So you don't need to be a developer to enjoy that capability.
And I'll just add to that the system is then smart enough to be able to test if you get new PDFs. So let's say now they get updated. It's smart enough to be able to know if a PDF has already been scanned in, that this one now is supposed to match the one that was previously scanned, and to just highlight those differences as a result.
Yeah, and to add to that, one more thing here. I remember we had one pharmaceutical company that were testing hundreds of PDFs, and in each PDF there were thousands of pages, and this test would normally take just minutes. We're not talking about scanning them hours. Not to mention that it's impossible to do it manually. So again, this AI engine strength help you scale and cover way more than it's possible to do manually.
That's impressive. It's tireless, I can't imagine having
like
to go through a 1,000-page PDF.
It's like a human with superpowers. It never sleeps.
Yeah. Okay, so next question. Can we trigger this system anytime our website changes?
Absolutely. We have, now depending on which CMS system you're using, whether it's AEM, like I mentioned earlier, or Drupal, or even WordPress, it doesn't matter. You can set up the system to run automatically whenever you push an update, when you release an update. And it will scan a specific page or even the entire website. Like I mentioned earlier, sometimes when you push an update, it affects more than what you just updated. And you probably want to cover everything and not just the page that you're just looking at.
Okay, great. Next up is a question about language support. Can we test pages in other languages other than English?
Oh, that's a good one. Yes, we have, since we are supporting multiple algorithms, like I mentioned earlier, we have Strict that emulates the human eye. Layout, the other one that covers the structure of the page. With Layout, you can actually test cross languages. So if you have a page in English or in Spanish, you can have one baseline or one expected result for it, and then be able to compare Spanish to English, because we are not comparing the text. We're not doing OCR. We're not doing pixel to pixel, none of that. Our AI engine eyes is looking at the page structure, understands how it's composed based on the element in front of it, so it can be, it can see an image on the right and some text on the left, for example, and it can pass it if the structure is intact, so not looking at the content. And we have customers that are testing pages with about 50 different languages, and they have two baselines. Two baselines they need because one baseline is for the right to left languages, and the other baseline is for the left to right. So with the Layout, it's a single, again, one click of a button, and you cover everything.
All right. So here's a question. Can you scan mobile apps as well?
Yes. Like I mentioned earlier, we have the ability to grab screenshots from anywhere, from a website, from a native app, from a web mobile app, single app applications, all the way to literally upload screenshots that your existing frameworks grabs and dumps in a folder. It's transparent to us where those screenshots are coming from, because we're in the business of image comparison and being able to do that using our AI engine. So it has nothing to do with where they're feeding off. We have a lot of customers that are testing their mobile apps with Applitools.
Okay, great. Well, I think that's about it for time. We've got a good chunk of other questions, but we've got everyone's contact information, so we'll reach out to you with answers to your questions. So thank you all very much for attending and taking the time out of your day. We had a really good crowd here today, and hopefully everyone learned a little bit about Applitools and how it can really help save time and money when you're kind of mired down in regulatory and compliance workflows. So, Aran, Janet, thank you both for participating today, and we'll see everyone later.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you.